Hello and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different to my normal videos, where today I'm actually going to do a video review of a game I've been playing a lot of. The game in question is known as Space Engineers. Now this game is actually in early alpha, or a early access game on Steam, which is available for $14.99 I believe. So it's quite pricey for a alpha. However, you do get access to the game now and any future versions that come out for it. The game is actually based around a Steam. Well, it's based around Steam Workshop as well, so you can get mods for it. I've already got a couple of mods installed in my version of the game. The game is a sandbox game about engineering, construction, maintenance, and working around of stuff in space. So players can build spaceships, stations, different sizes of course. I've got a large ship, I've got a station, I've got a battleship as well, which I constructed out of my own design. You can specialise them in different categories such as civil, which would include mining, resource gathering, research, exploration vessels, that sort of thing. Or you can have the military designation, which is like warships, like my battleship is designed to go after any other ships in my sector of space. So if I've got my space station down and my battleship is roaming the area and I spot another ship that is not friendly to my faction, or I do not want in my area, I can deploy my battleship, including its arsenal of actual fighters, to board and capture the ship. You can also perform under the mining category. The asteroids that you see in game are actually mineable. They all can be, you can go to most of them and you can mine them. So when I find a large asteroid, I'll tend to build a base there and mine the asteroid. So that's how I deal with my resource gathering. Back onto the main topic of the game, that the Space Engineers uses a new, quite a realistic, this is a quote from the website, a volumetric-based physics engine, which actually is, well, it's quite demanding because the game is not fully optimized because of its alpha state, but for me, with my 6100, my 560 Ti, I get about 70 frames per second when I'm not doing intensive stuff. So when I'm mining, I'll go down to about 40-30 frames per second, because when you grind the meteorite away, it actually, the rocks sort of react to where the drill is. So it's not just a square around the drill, it's actually like more dynamic around the drill. Things will get damaged as well. It says objects that allow for all objects to be assembled, damaged, and destroyed. So when you place your ship down, if something crashes into it, like on my battleship, I've had fighters hit the side of my ship and just dent the armor, because the armor I've got on the outside is thick enough to stop fighters from kamikazing into it. The armor just literally dents, and that's pretty much it. You can repair them with a welder as well, and they can get into different weird angle, different shapes as well. It's really quite surprising. You have Gatling guns, you have rockets, you have automated Gatling guns and automatic rocket launchers for larger ships. You can make fighters. I've got an arsenal of, I got a heavy, light, I got a medium and a heavy fighter on board my battleship and a drilling ship. You can play with your friends. It's got multiplayer mode, but both includes the survival and creative game modes, which are also available in single player. The creative mode, obviously, you get everything pre-built for you, just build. In survival, you get the same inventory system, but you place the object down, but you need certain objects in your inventory, like construction components, still placed to actually place the object. And when you go to weld them with the welder you actually you get the GUI of what you need to what you need to build the item. So, for example, a landing gear requires steel plates, construction components, motors, and computers to work. So those components are needed in a certain number to actually be able to get everything that you want from that object you're building. There are also some very basic starting worlds you can use. So if you want an easy start, well, there's one world that gives you a station and a pre-built ship. There's another version of which will give you another ship as well. So if you really want, you can keep the station, scrap the two ships, which I wouldn't do. I started on the lone survivor world, which is basically just a platform, which is well, the platform basically is, you get it is just a platform with some basic machinery on board. You do get quotes when you actually load into the game, so some of the quotes are made up. The game is based in the far future, like beyond 2077, I think. So around about the same time as the Halo games are actually taking place. A couple of years before that is, I think, when this game is supposed to take place. I've got like 71 hours in the game, and I am continuing to put more into the game. There are dedicated servers you can buy as well. I think it's like I have an 8-slot server that's renting by one of my friends who's paying £8 a month for an 8-slot dedicated server that's got 30 ping to my connection, so I'm quite pleased with it. We can upload our own world to it as well, and the support on the company is quite good. So if you don't want to pay for a dedicated server, the game does allow you to load into a world, and if you've got an internet connection, it will download the mods if you've got any installed, and it will also start a multiplayer server hosted off your connection. So if you've got a good internet connection and your friends don't live too far away, they can just go through Steam, right click on your name on their friends list, and they can join your game, or you can give them an invite to your game, which will load them into the world. They'll download the mods from your server that you're running on in the background of playing this game, and they'll be able to join off you, and if you enable it, you can actually allow them to save their own copies of the world, or you can leave the autosave feature on, which will save the game every so often. So before, what we used to do, I used to log into the game. If I wasn't going to play the game, I'd leave the game running and put autosave on, so the server would be running, they'd be able to play, save, and the game would be saved automatically to my machine. But if they wanted something bad happened, they could save their own copy, and we could revert to each copy. So we have backups of the world on many computers. It's actually quite a useful little system. The inventory system. Back to the inventory system. If you press when you first load it, and your hotbar will be empty. So you just press G, and you'll see loads of items in the scroll menu. But at the very top, you'll see the welder, the grinder, and the hand drill, and loads of little animations. If you just right-click them, the little tools, it'll put them into your hotbar in the next available slot. The controls are pretty basic. WSD to move. The graphics are actually pretty good on the game, considering it is an early access game. So there's quite a lot of features as well. You can get blast doors. So you can open and close blast doors. You can make different types of fighter. You can customize pretty much anything about the game. You can build anything. In creative mode, you can build anything that's in your imagination. In survival, it's a little bit more difficult to get a ship online the size of, say, my battleship I've named the Dogma. It is a really hefty battleship. It's made out of the heavy armor blocks in the game, which don't take, with small arms fire and Gatling guns, does not take damage. Only rockets, and it takes a lot of rockets to get through to penetrate the armor on my battleship. So you'll have a hard time breaking through the armor. If you have a ship and you don't want to lose it, or you have a base and you don't want to lose it, you can build things called antennas and beacons, which actually allow you to see the place where the beacon is from up to infinite. But this does require a lot more power. So the game currently has two main sources of power. That'd be nuclear power, which is the best, and then solar energy, which is really not very good at all. So there's two different types of reactors. There's large reactors and small reactors. Large reactors on the big ship are absolutely massive. So be mindful of that. Anything on a big ship is a lot bigger than it would be on a smaller ship. So you can have one large reactor. On the Dogma, which is my battleship, I currently have one large reactor to power the ship. This is quite an inefficient design because the ship is so massive. It weighs, I think, in the region of 3.9 million kilograms, which is around 3,900 tons, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I believe it's about that weight. And it can accelerate pretty fast thanks to the modded engines I've got on it. It's got hyperdrive engines, which again, you can get these mods off the Steam Workshop. So if you want some mods, you see it, you just click subscribe and it'll download the mod. In the game as well, in the game options, you can enable thruster damage. So if you get close to something with your thrusters, you can basically burn through the armor. So light armor is extremely easy to burn through when you've got thruster damage on. So personally, I turn that off because the designs I have require thrusters to be inside of my hull. Like when we make a heavy fighter, we always put engines inside the fuselage so we can hide them away. The game does also actually have AI ships you can go and attack for resources. There's private sales, business transports, military escorts, military mine layers, there's mining escorts, all sorts of different ships. They all are armed and they all are hostile. But the business transports, or the business shipments, and the private sales are the easiest to take. They only have 2 Gatling guns, and they don't have much ammo. So if you build a fast, nimble fighter, you can capture them pretty easily, so there's no real problem there of capturing the transports. I already have a video on my channel on how I capture the transports, so if you want to see how I capture them, you can look on my channel, and you should see my video on how I capture ships. Now, this game is $14.99 on Steam for early access, but you can get it cheaper in other places. Check places like G2A Games and Kinguin.net. You can get them pretty cheap on there. You can get multiplayer packs which come with 3 or 4 copies of the game, so you can give them out to your friends if you want. In my personal opinion, I do highly recommend Space Engineers if you're into the creative sort of engineering side of things, because the game is based around, as I said, it's based around engineering, construction and maintenance of different types of vehicles or stations. So, me personally, I like putting things together, designing things, building things, so, which is why I was interested in Space Engineers. Out of a 5-star rate, I'd currently give the game about 4 stars. Reason being I wouldn't give it 5 is because, once again, the game needs to be more optimized, so it runs better on lower end machines. I mean, I have a pretty mid-range machine, and yes, my graphics card may be a little bit outdated, but it still runs most of my games on high settings, so I'm pretty happy with it. But I get 41 frames per second when I'm walking around something like my base, which has got a lot of machinery going off. There are also med bays as well, so you can die. When you die, you can respawn wherever you place a medical bay. There's refineries, mining, assemblers to do automated work as well, all sorts of different machines to help you along in the game. The physics engine, as I said, it's actually quite good. I mean, there's inertia and all that. You have to be very careful with inertia. Like, when I have to build my turrets, if I don't lock the rotors and turn them off, the turrets will just spin out of control when I accelerate and when I brake. So, all in all those things together, this is a very polished alpha, in my opinion. The game does have some bugs where the undercarriage will suddenly explode if your fighter is either too heavy or you've parked the fighter on a dent, which has been caused by landing the aircraft too heavy. Things do tend to move around inside your ship, so you have to be very careful what you do, or what you use for your ship. Have I got anything else to say about this game? Personally, in its current state, I wouldn't say it's a bad game. It needs some more development, but you get, like, in this game you get basically weekly updates. I think I've had the game just under a week, and I've had like 4 updates for the game. So the game is getting updated very quickly. Bugs are getting found and patched, and you can report bugs into the developers as well. So if you find a bug that you don't think anyone else has found, you can tweet them, the developers, at, I don't know their Twitter account, but you can contact the developers, tell them that there's a bug that you found, and they'll get on to fixing that. This game, personally, I really enjoy this game. It's a fun game to play with your friends. Dedicated servers aren't very expensive. If you don't even want to pay for a dedicated server, you can host it off your own private connection. You can allow the only people that can join are friends off your Steam list. All in all, Space Engineers is a really good game. I recommend the game if you're into creating things for different purposes. If you like just generally building things, then I'd recommend the creative mode to you. But if you want a bit more of a challenge, and you want a bit more satisfaction out of playing the game, I would recommend playing it in survival mode with a couple of friends. There also are factions in the game, so you can have wars with other factions on other servers. So if you get on a 30-man server and there's different factions, you can actually build a ship and go and attack the faction. So this game currently has quite a lot of depth to it. You have beacons and all that to find your way around space. You can build on most asteroids. You can customize the world limit to pretty much your desires. If you go into Start New World, you can choose all sorts of options. In my opinion, though, this game is well worth the money, because I know this game is going to be great in a few months' time down the road when a lot of the bugs have been sorted. It's great now. I love the game now. But there's a few things that annoy me about the game, like when my undercarriage suddenly will explode, or I'll get stuttering when players join when I'm hosting something. So there are a few bugs to be worked out, but the fact this game has a great community, it has access to all the Steam Workshop mods. So if you find a mod you like, you can just subscribe to it on Steam, and it is installed next time you load up the server. You can create your own mods for this game as well using the modding tools that I believe are provided through Steam. You can do all sorts of different and cool little aspects into this game, so I recommend this game if you're into building and creating things. If you're not, this game may still be for you, but take my advice with a grain of salt. It can be a very fun game. On your own, I tend to build and design weapons systems because I'm more into the military side of this game rather than the mining operations. But I do have ships that can do both aspects of it, like my battleship carries a small mining vessel to go and gather fuel for its reactor. All in all, as I said before, I give this game 4 out of 5 stars. I do recommend purchasing this game if you're into if you're a creative person and you like these sort of games. It's one of the few space-orientated games that I have enjoyed playing. So, and I will continue to play it, and I will be putting more videos up on my channel about this game. So, thank you guys for watching. Please comment, rate, subscribe, and leave some feedback in the comment section on whether or not you think this game is worth it, or if you want to see more Space Engineers content from myself, because I am thoroughly enjoying this game, and I think anyone out there who likes this sort of thing will be enjoying this game as well. There are plenty of tutorials on YouTube and plenty of little videos on YouTube you can watch as well if you want to get more of a sense of this game. If this review hasn't helped you, then leave a comment in the description. Leave a comment behind, letting me know how I can improve on this. And I thank you all for watching. Hopefully you've got some insight on what Space Engineers is like through this review, and I shall see you in the next video, whatever that may be. See you next time.